All right, in this podcast, I'm going to talk about my issues with retail catfish boats. Now, I know some of you are expecting this podcast. If you have been subscribed to my YouTube channel for a while, you know that I feel that catfish boats don't need back decks. So, change my mind and leave a comment below. That is one of the biggest problems I see with retail catfish boats is they put a back deck in. Now I understand why. That back deck usually has either a live well in it or the gas tank. However, if you look at multiple YouTubers like Catfish Dave, I think Chunky Cats, and a few others, their boats are the wide open, boats where you can walk to the back of the boat to your rods to fish. That includes Uncle Rudd's Catfishing. He is another local YouTuber, a newer guy. I'll go ahead and put an iCard above to his channel if you want to see his setup. I also have a couple of videos of that setup as well. It seemed like I was a little bit harsh on it. I really think his boat's like the perfect catfishing boat. I did have a couple of things that I said about it that I probably shouldn't have. I really wanted to portray that as a really, really perfect catfish boat. Now, why do I not like, back decks? You need to have that gas tank or you need to have that live well. I know a few people will say that. Well, first and foremost, it is a tripping hazard. Every single boat I've had in the past had back decks. And I've been a fishing guide for 5 years now, a little bit over 5 years, and I've literally had one boat a year. And I've had on every single boat clients trip over the back deck. The rod will get smashed by a catfish and they will launch themselves towards the rod to grab it and trip over the back deck. And this is after me telling them to be careful. This is after me putting an actual sign in my current boat to watch your step. Okay, and my cat is, as always, getting into, the video. But anyway, yeah, it's a tripping hazard for one, and two, it just doesn't make sense. Having a back deck basically makes me feel that these are glorified bass boats. In a bass boat, you want to have a back deck. You're on that back deck, standing up, casting baits for bass all day long, and you want to be able to just, cast without having anything to impede you. On a catfish boat, that gets a little bit difficult on the back because you have rod holders on the back. At least most of us have rod holders like multi-bars. And I can imagine casting for a bass but smashing your rod into a multi-bar, especially if you're trying to skip a bait under a dock. Well, you're breaking your rod in half on a multi-bar because there's no room to cast. There shouldn't be a casting deck on a catfish boat unless it's on the front. And, the front, that's good to have a big deck on the front. That's for cast netting, throwing baits for skipjacks. There's a lot of good reasons to have an actual front deck on the boat. But the back deck, it needs to go. Now, I'm going to talk about, these are retail boats. I have an Excel Catfish Pro. And I would consider it the Excel Muskie Pro because the decks, both of them, are absolutely huge. I need to train my cat just to, sit here instead of, blocking the camera all the time. Sometimes she does. You want to stay right there? So like I said, the Excel Muskie Pro because it is the perfect muskie boat. As a catfish boat, it's got a back deck that's in the way. Now, I understand, like, you want to have that live well if you're doing tournaments. And a lot of tournament guys, a lot of people who own catfish boats are tournament guys. It's really hard to tell. I don't know a lot of people with boats. The ones, like, if you look at, like I said, the YouTubers with boats, they couldn't do tournaments in those boats, most of them, if not all. And then you have the actual tournament guys, which they have, most of them have that big live well in the back for their tournaments. I don't know. Let me talk about the one more brand. Okay, I'm going to put my cat on the floor. See, cats. I've had people like say bad things about my cat for some reason, and I kind of understand. It's like, oh, you don't need to have the cat, and I can't keep her out of the live stream unless I put her on the floor, and I can't train her to stay out, or not live stream, but podcast. So she's just going to be in and out throughout the whole podcast, and you're just going to have to be okay with it or not. Anyway, where was that? I'm going to talk about some other boats too. You know, the Excel Catfish Pro, side console or center console, has a back deck to trip over. The low Catfish, same thing. But what they've done, they have actually done something that I think was a good idea. They put the big live well in the front. Now, if they could put the live well in the front and then figure out how to put the gas tank in the front somehow, that and then remove the back deck, there you go. They would have the perfect retail catfish boat. Now, Pro Cat, the CR Pro Cat, what's that other one? G3 Sportsman. G3 Sportsman isn't a catfish boat, but it is designed like the other retail catfish boats, and it's the same thing as the Pro Cat. You have a big live well in the back, a deck in the back that you have to step up on. Now, Excel has solved this problem to an extent. However, it is a giant boat. The new Excel Stormcat, it has the live well in like the transom on the back of the boat, and it's almost impossible to step up on that. It's built like other ocean boats, the boats that will go out 30, 40, 50 miles, maybe even 100 miles and go fishing. That's what the Stormcat is. They move the windshield back to give it a bigger front deck for, casting for skipjacks, throwing that, cast net. So that was a good thing that they did. The live well in the back, sometimes I wish it could be an optional feature. If they could just not have it back there, you could make me and others that think like me happy. All the while, if a dedicated tournament person wanted, they could get the live well in there. Now, it is a big boat. I don't think I would be able to shoehorn that boat into some of my shallow water spots. That's the problem with it. I guesstimated that it could easily hit 5,000 pounds for like towing. And for reference, my boat, my Excel Catfish Pro, is 3,800 pounds, and that's with almost a full tank. So 3,800 pounds is my Catfish Pro. It's a side console, side console bass boat, pretty much, at 3,800 pounds, aluminum. This is an aluminum boat. It's even bigger at a whopping 5,000 pounds, which is pretty crazy. Now, there's another thing that I would like to see in a catfish boat that would help with, when you don't have a deck to trip over, you have more room to walk. And if it's long enough in the back or short enough in the front, you can add bench seats in the sides. Now, I'm going to show you a picture of a reference. Now, I'll say this right now. In the future, at some point, probably 10 years from now, hopefully less, I'm going to get another boat. And my boat is going to be a forward windshield boat without a back deck and without a bench back there. I'm not going to get, a non customizable John boat where I can't, have them not, have them remove the back deck if they won't do it. You are going on the floor again. And so I've narrowed it down to two brands. Yes, the Stormcat is in my head as a possibility. I have a special picture for that one. But the other one that I'm looking at really close to is a Wooldridge. There's other brands that are kind of like them. Wooldridge, I think, was the first that I found. And here's a picture of it. And as you can see, you can walk right up to that back deck. You have two benches you can sit down and lounge around on while waiting on a bite. When that bite happens, you have nothing to trip over. And they do build them with a tunnel hull. However, they build like a part or something, from what they told me, that you can put in the tunnel hull. And that will allow you to have a normal prop. It will block off that raise in the back of the boat. The only downside you have with that boat is the small front deck. You can only get one person on there. Now, I do know people have fished for muskie on a boat like this on that small deck, but it's one person at a time. If you're really good with a cast net, you probably could cast a cast net off of it too. I know people who do cast nets on smaller decks like that. It's the only drawback of it. The Stormcat, like I said, the Excel Stormcat, they actually made their deck bigger, but you can't have these benches in it unless it's a longer boat. And from what I was told, they may be coming out with a 23-footer or 26-footer. So I took their picture and I did this. This would be either a 23 or 26-foot Stormcat with seats in it. Now, 100% I put Woolridge seats in the Stormcat, and I also made it longer using photo editing program. So I did this to make it look like that. I think Excel got a good laugh out of it as well when I sent it to them, but I did tell them this would be really cool if you could design side benches if you actually go through with making a longer Stormcat. And I think it would be perfect for it outside of that. The flaw with the Stormcat obviously is the 100-gallon livewell in the back. That thing is absolutely enormous. It is a little bit in the way. You have to pull your fish to the side of the boat to get it in. There's no way. You could climb around it and get on the offshore bracket to net a fish that you can't get around because of other rods or whatever. However, most of the time you're going to have to get it to the side. And I know there's others that end up having to do the same as well, because they have a similar boat from the Northwest where they have to pull the fish around to the side. No matter what, if you look at any of these boats, they're all trade-offs. There will probably, for me, never be the actual perfect boat. I just wish some of these manufacturers would offer more options with their boats. I'm not going to say which one did it, but I had an argument with a custom boat builder that refused to do something custom. I asked him, can you do this? Your website says this. Everybody loves you because you're such a good brand, and you do advertise yourself as a custom boat builder. Can you do this one custom thing? And not only did I get a no from them, I've got two dealerships of that specific brand that dislike me because I keep asking stuff, and I'm not going to say what the dealerships are, but the last one that ended up not liking me was, I was going to order a boat, and I said, okay, do this, or whatever. I deal with it myself, that one part. Okay, and they gave me a quote, and it's like, okay, is the console going to be attached or is it going to be loose? And they're like, oh, it's going to be attached. Okay, can you make the console loose? And they told me, okay, don't talk to us ever again. That's exactly how it went. And it was because I had an argument with them over the other part, and then I decided, okay, that's fine. I'll order it as is. And then, can you at least have the console not attached to the boat? I can attach it myself. And they told me to go, go away. They decided not to work with me. Uh, Thankfully, these dealerships are hundreds of miles away from me anyway. It doesn't matter. I will say that I've been working with Marine Specialist, an Excel dealership here in Knoxville, Tennessee, and they've been doing a fabulous job. They've been doing a great job with me. Thankfully, I haven't, to my knowledge, made them mad. At least they've worked with me. I'm hoping that they're going to allow me to film a Stormcat sometime in the future. All I can do is apologize to these other dealerships just because, I asked this from a custom boat manufacturer that refuses to do custom work. So, there's nothing I can do if the manufacturer, says no. But when the dealership decides to, a simple request of not having the console attached, let me do it because I want to do my own wiring on this custom boat. Yeah. I forgot what I did with the other dealership, like the two dealerships. The other one, I don't know what I did. I don't remember what I did. I don't think they're mad at me per se, but that one was not happy with me. And hey, it might have been me, I look at things as the customer's not always right, and maybe I was asking for too much. I don't know. I tried. I know, that if I had to do some things myself, it would compromise the boat, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted the actual boat manufacturer to do what I wanted them to do, and then they would add, more structure to it and make it more safe. But, it is what it is. I guess you could say maybe it's it's obsession of wanting to have that perfect catfish boat and not have my clients trip over a back deck. That is the biggest thing in my mind. That is a big liability. No back deck. If you want to have a big live well, you either have it in the front with a small gas tank, or just put a bait tank in. Extreme bait tank, Mel's bait tank, Creek bait tank. They work. They're centered. You have it in the center, so you walk around the center, and you can use that bait tank to cut your bait. You can put your fish on top of it. There's a lot of things you can do with a bait tank. Most bait tanks are removable, so if you really want to have room and you don't have the need for the bait tank, just take it out. A 50, 60, 70, 80 gallon bait tank is not going to be that difficult to take out of a boat. Now, when you get into the 100 range or bigger, yeah, they start getting pretty difficult to move around. But the smaller bait tanks, no problem. And that's the way I look at it. If I had a boat like this, I would eventually probably put a bait tank back there, taking up some of the room, but if it's wide enough, which is another thing that a catfish boat needs to have, there's no problems. And when I'm talking about wide enough, most John boats are when you get to the 20-foot range. And I'm talking 20 foot, 21, 22, 23 foot boat, not the smaller boats, but the bigger boats. They're 72 inches wide. Woolridge's boat, they have a 76-inch wide 20-foot boat. I don't know how wide the Stormcat's going to be. I could look it up, but I would assume that they're going to be a little bit wider. But, hitting as wide as possible helps with the stability. And you got to think, going back to the deck again, a guy like me, who's a little bit, got a little bit extra weight, standing on top of a deck is going to cause the boat to wobble back and forth and be unstable a little bit more than most other people that don't have as much weight on as I do. And that's the issue with it. It's the center of gravity while you're up on the deck makes the boat more wobbly. When you're down with your feet below the water line in the bottom of the boat, it's going to be more stable. And the width also helps with that stability. So wide boat, no back deck. Who needs a live well? I mean, I've got a little live well that I've put in aerators. And I can keep shiners in it if I wanted to easily. I've been using my Engel cooler. I am kind of affiliated with Engel a little bit. They've actually sent me stuff before. There's more than just Engel out there, but that Engel, cooler live well keeps my shiners alive for days. And I've been using that. I use it for bluegill. I can keep bluegill in it. Take that little cooler with you. And it's not, if you have plenty of deck space, it's not even in the way. I could put it right behind my captain's chair and nobody's going to trip over it. Plenty of room when there is actual room on the boat. Wide open room. You don't even need a live well. If you do, like I said earlier, bait tank, put in a bait tank. Some kind of oval 80-gallon bait tank would probably be perfect for a catfish tournament. You don't even really need to have a filter in it. You could just have aerators. A filter, I tell you what, you put catfish in a bait tank with a filter on, oh boy, when you go to weigh those suckers in, they will smack you in the face. They will be the most lively fish out of everybody there because for whatever reason, a bait tank will supercharge catfish. And I'm talking a 30-pounder that is almost impossible to handle because it's just flipping in every direction. A bait tank does supercharge the catfish. So you don't even need to have the filter on the whole time. I could see, someone should try to design a live well in the front. Why not? Can't, have a 20-gallon gas tank somewhere, wide open back, and then, shoehorn in a, 80-gallon live well on the front. Like what Lowe does. Lowe boats. Cat's still trying to get into the podcast. So, yeah. I guess it's more of a rant for me when it comes to these, retail catfish boats. There are people that build custom boats that would be happy to make what I want. And the cost is up there. I mean, if you're looking like the Woolridge boats, you're looking at $70,000, $80,000. You're looking at the Stormcat, $70,000, $80,000. So you can see kind of why that I just settled with the boat that I have, because this boat's less than 40 and I don't want to go overboard. If I, save up for 10 years, maybe I'll be able to get one. But for now, I'm just going to use what I have, and I'm just going to hope that I have no other clients trip over my back deck. That's all I can hope for. And this is the boat that I've got. This is the boat that I'm going to be using for now. But like I said, it's either my next boat's going to be either a Woolridge or it's going to be a Stormcat. Now, I'm definitely open ears for comments or concerns about this subject. So just feel free to leave a comment below about, these boats in general. What should I try to maybe go for instead of the two crazy expensive boats? Stuff like that. You have to realize I'm probably thinking more in the terms of being a guide. And when you're a guide, I can take up to 6 people out. That's my guide license. It's called a 6-pack. Right now, 3 people is a lot of people on my boat. I might be able to get away with 4, but that's it. I cannot go more than that. If I get like a 23, 24 foot storm cat, I bet I could take 6 people out. On the Woolridge boat, I'm still stuck with 3 to 4 people. I really have to get like a 24 to 26 foot boat to take out that many people. And when you get to 26 feet, there's not, from what I've seen, many options that are sub $100,000 that could handle that. So I'm in a rock and a hard place, and the if you removed back decks out of some of these retail boats, that would cost that would lower the cost on the manufacturer. That's less metal. No live well, no live well pumps, no, you know, don't need the drainage for the pumps. You don't need any kind of live well in it. If a manufacturer did all this and made what I consider a real catfish boat, it shouldn't cost $80,000. That may be the whole reason why I gripe about this, because my boat would be cheaper without the back deck, without the live wells. Anyway, like I said, leave a comment below of what you think. And as always, I want to thank you for taking your time out of your day to actually watch my video. I really, really appreciate it. I do have more fishing videos scheduled, and I do have some spicy ideas for more podcasts. I guess I'm going to see how this one goes first. So hit that thumbs up if you like this, rant of a podcast, and maybe I will do some other rants about some other subjects. I'd rather be informative, or at least go over, things that need to change or whatever. And some of my rants do kind of revolve around things that need to change. Let's find out by how many likes this video gets, this podcast. So thanks again for watching and listening to this podcast.